What's going on, everybody? Today is Friday the 13th, and today we're doing a podcast tool face-off. You're listening, watching the Daily AI Show live. We've got Beth, Jyunmi, Karl, and I'm Brian. And if you're here, then you're ready for a showdown. I want to pull out the comment that Jen already put in our comments. She said, "Hey, it's Friday the 13th. I'm not superstitious. I'm a little stitious." So there you go. Kind of like the dad jokes that you get. I've never heard that before, so that did make me laugh. Yeah, the dad jokes we're getting on the 12 days of OpenAI, which reminds me to tell you that we have been doing live reactions to the 12 days of OpenAI. Today is day 7. So they'll wrap up this week with day 7. Then they'll do 8 through 12 next week's Monday through Friday. It happens at 1 p.m. Eastern every single weekday, like I said, and we've done one every day since from the beginning. So we will be back, or whoever's available, be back today at 1 p.m. Eastern to do our live reaction. Come hang out with us. If you've never been here before, make sure you go to thedailyishow.com because you can see all our previous episodes there. You can also go to YouTube and find them. And you can also sign up at that website. You can sign up for our newsletter, which will go out on Sunday morning. It's free. It's all the extra good stuff that we just simply can't get to on this show. But you're here, so let's jump into it. We're going to talk about, like I said, the AI podcast tools face-off, GenFM, PlayNote. Of course, the maybe the leading contender would be Google's NotebookLM that kind of floored everybody, only about 2-3 months ago. Google NotebookLM has been around for several months, but they added very quietly, mind you, this pretty amazing podcast addition to it that was such a big deal that Spotify teamed up with them to use it in their Wrapped series. And I've seen some mixed messages of whether people actually like that or not. So it'll be interesting to see if that has the PR bump that maybe Google was looking for by attaching to them to something as big as like a Spotify Wrapped series, which a lot of people, including myself, look forward to every year. So that's what we got going on. Okay, who's gonna jump in and start talking about this? I think Karl, you're our lead on this one, right?
Okay. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
yes.
Great.
Okay. So I don't mute myself at all from now on. Okay. So we all know about NotebookLM, and we know popularity and even some really cool things that are apparently coming where you can change the voices. And I saw one where potentially you could actually interact with the voice. So it'll actually talk to you back, which is very interesting. There is a couple tools that are on the market. So for those who don't know, NotebookLM has a feature called audio overviews. It turns essentially any of your content into a podcast style. So you can upload your YouTube videos, any type of PDFs, documents, Google Docs, any text in there, any audio files. I think it's video files soon, but if you just upload it into YouTube, it becomes that. So there is that, and I think everybody kind of ran with it. I even think the Google Notebook team, several of their members left to start their own startup, so that's interesting too. There are a couple in the market that's not on GitHub, that's not just clones of it, but actually big time companies like ElevenLabs. But I want to today showcase Play.ai, which used to be Play.ht. So I'm going to share this. Where is Play.ai? Chrome tab. Nope. How come I can't find it?
So we were talking just the other day that Play.ht is much easier to say, right? And like it makes sense that they want to rebrand so that they're Play.ai, but you kind of have to say the dot in between because Play.a is like like they moved to something that was harder to say. Also, Play.ai is like not something that you can search. It's like make, right?
Yes.
So Play.ai is now going to be Play.ai, formerly Play.ht, and then you're going to move forward.
Okay, I'm sharing, so didn't think that.
Here we go.
Okay, cool. So, very similar to ElevenLabs, Play.ai has AI generated voices. You can clone your voices, but today what we're going to be talking about is PlayNote. So what you can see here, there's a couple of differences between NotebookLM, and I'm actually going to pull up NotebookLM here and give an example. So let's just do this. So to recap, NotebookLM, different sources, PDFs, text, markdown, audio, and so on. And then it has the audio overviews. But with Play.ai, similar. Now, it doesn't have the same concept to it. So NotebookLM is actually, I believe, it was a research tool and a study guide tool. A lot of students should have used it a couple of years ago when it was actually out. But this is just purely the audio version of it. So what you can do is there's a couple of things. You can upload a variety of files. Now, I'm surprised at some of the files too, .avi, .flv, .hei. I'm like, wow, who actually has .aac? A lot of these very interesting different types of files you can upload. So I'm going to show you. I'm just going to upload really quickly. I don't know. My daughter's St. Luke Christmas prize baskets. I'm going to upload that. So there's different things you can. So there's a normal podcast style, but there's executive briefing. You could have a debate. You can create a children's story out of the podcast style, a detailed summary. I'm actually going to create a children's story because I have several of the other ones. And then you have a parody. What's neat about Play.ai, though, is you can have different voices. So I'm just going to say, let's do a podcast. Now you have 2 different voices here, but you can have multiple voices. So you can have the AI type voices, which Play.ai has.
Hey, how's it going?
I can select a lot of them.
Up already, thank goodness.
And then you could pick the second voice. What's awesome, though, is so Beth and I actually cloned our own voices really quickly. I'm going to go Beth Madge, and I'm going to create a podcast. Well, actually, I've already created a podcast. I actually want to just do a children's story. I'm going to have Beth Madge talk a children's story about this document that I uploaded, the Christmas prize basket. I think that'd be very funny. So we'll let that run, and we'll let that generate the preview. Go back to PlayNote. I have a couple here. So Beth, I created this one, which was between. Hey, so I know that you are it's between. Actually, sorry. There's another feature here that I kind of was jumping towards. So you can do the podcast style, but another cool thing you can do is you can create an entire show. So you just have to maintain this template, speaker 1, speaker 2. So you can go into like ChatGPT, Claude, whatever LLM you use, create a show in this template, and then upload it here. Either clone your voices or pick the AI voices and create something. So what we did was we had Beth sent me a transcript yesterday. She cloned her voice. There's 2 types of clones. She had her regular voice and she had Madge. So I'll let Beth explain what Madge is in a second, but I want you to hear the first transcript, I guess the transcript podcast that we created. Expert in helping people understand large concepts and also helping to persuade people or help them broaden their understanding. One of the things I believe we're facing as a planet is a forest and trees moment. How do we give people a sense of the planet as a whole? How do we inspire that feeling of shared responsibility and cooperation? I'm just not sure how to give people that experience when we are so divided and physically so far apart in many ways.
That's such an important question. And honestly, one of the most challenging parts is creating that visceral connection to something as abstract as the planet when we're all living.
So we went for a little bit longer than there, but you can see how you can actually create a podcast purely from scratch. I think this opens up a lot of different opportunities. I just want to play you one more thing.
Hey,
this is Beth Madge, and again, she can explain it, but another transcript.
So I know that you are an expert in helping people understand large concepts and also helping to persuade people or help them broaden their understanding. One of the things I believe we're facing as a planet is a forest and trees moment. How do we give people a sense of the planet as a whole? How do we inspire that feeling of shared responsibility and cooperation? I'm just not sure how to give people that experience when we are so divided and physically so far apart in many ways.
That's such an important question, and honestly, one of the most challenging. So I'll open up the floor and what you all
Okay.
think about Play.ai.
Real quick question. All right, in that last clip,
Mhm.
The clone Beth clone, Beth clone's voice actually added in sort of a pause or a stop before continuing the sentence or the idea.
Yeah.
Was that in the script, or was that a choice that the generator made?
That was not in the script. That was a choice that the generator made.
Interesting. Is that a toggle, a slider, or anything
No,
like that?
I just literally copy pasted the transcript that Beth sent and then just let it run, picked our voices, and away we went.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to go too deep into it. It's just like it's amazing to hear that kind of cadence and speech pauses and that kind of thing is translated over or generated. I'm just wondering, like, did they get that from did the generator get that from the source material and analyze that, oh, this voice makes those kinds of pauses? If you gave it if you gave it like Captain Kirk, William Shatner performances, will the voices always come out with big pauses? Those kinds of things. So
I'd be very
I found that
curious.
really, really interesting.
There's one thing I want to add too. If you are planning to clone your voice, and you can easily clone it too. So if you want to create a new voice, you can put you record your own voice and they give you about 30 seconds, or you can upload your sample. I do recommend, if you do use this and record your own voice, be very animated. Like, don't just talk in a monotone, talk to a script. Really do a full range. And I think that's what Beth did, which she kind of did a full range. So then it can pick up a lot of, so when it's creating your voice, creating the transcript or the podcast, it has a lot to work with rather than just the monotone, because if you just a monotone, your entire podcast can be monotone. So try to remember that when you're uploading your sample.
It's a good reminder anyway that, when we're doing this show, when people are doing other podcasts, when you watch like other people that you follow on YouTube, I'll use Matt Wolf as an example. He can feel like at times like he's yelling at the microphone, but that makes a really big difference, because it really, for regular, never mind AI translated it translates better through this medium when you're watching it, to have those vocal inflections in there. So it's almost like what I tell people is, talk louder than you think you need to for the mic that's in front of you. And if, everybody in your house or apartment can't hear you, you're probably not doing it loud enough, because you're not pushing enough air past your vocal cords to get those inflections in there for the AI, like you said, to pick up. Because, it's just, at the end of the day, it's picking up a sound wave, right? And so if you stay very much in the middle, what else can it build off of? But if you give it some highs and lows, like Beth did, then it makes a big difference.
So we have some questions about Madge. I don't have Madge's full likeness ready, but I will explain. Madge, welcome to Madge Talks AI, and Madge is going to explain AI concepts to the very new public, or even the old public. If you love AI, I believe you will love Madge Talks AI. That's who Madge is. And I put in
This
the.
sounds very nice.
I love it.
Put
I
in
love
the,
it.
in
Madge
the
is
chat
great.
that soft launch happening soon, full launch in 2025. Look, I'm just like OpenAI. This is just a little demo.
Yeah.
Let's get the Madge hype train going. Woo!
Yeah. And so that's the point. That's what I sounded like in the file that I gave Carl to train on. And so this is trying to get you, it's not trying to clone the exact sound that you gave it. It does have some like evening features. So I don't know, like, is Madge unprofessional? Perhaps.
Hey, Gwen has a great question about retaining the rights to the voice. Does the Play.ai EULA have something about they get to use it how they want, or is it all yours? They don't touch it or anything like that?
I haven't really reviewed the because when I was using Play.ai for business, I wasn't cloning any voices. I was just using the AI voices because they sounded a little bit more realistic than the ElevenLabs one. So definitely we probably want to double check what the privacy policy is when you do upload your voice, how they can create it, and then length of term, what they plan to do with it. Something worth having a look. I didn't really check. So, but then again, I feel like with Beth and I's voices, well, Beth regular, not Madge, but I mean, like we've done so many episodes that it's pretty easy to pull and pull from anything to
Oh
clone this.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah,
definitely
that's
it's available.
yeah. And that's a really good point too, is if you aren't, you don't do any public content or your voice isn't out there, you got to be very careful about what you're cloning and who you're giving your clone to. Like, yeah, that's great. So if I wanted to create a new voice, all it has here is I hereby confirm that I have all the necessary rights and consents to clone and use this voice. But literally I could download Christopher Walken, any type of voice, upload it, and I could just click it and it won't matter. So I think
Yeah,
that's like
they're just protecting themselves. Because if somebody comes after them, they're like, hey, it's not us.
Of course.
It's the user.
Yeah. But it's just like if I want, so for example, if you're trying to clone a CEO and that CEO doesn't usually provide any public addresses or anything, and you actually clone it for like a purpose, not a public figure, right? It's or your coworker, you just clone it because you've recorded that person's voice while they were in a meeting. That's very, very different. So there's a lot of things you need to think about when you're cloning your voices and so on.
And by the way, could we just pause and remember that I think the first time I did a clone voice with ElevenLabs, I had to upload 30 minutes of audio.
Yes,
and you said this is about 30 seconds, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Just one of those, I just wrote a post about this today. Like, you won't really see AGI coming. It'll just be there. That's one of those moments that you have to stop and remember and go, oh yeah, that's right. This used to be like a bit of a process to do. And the result was mediocre. And I'm listening to what you're putting on here on Play.ai or what you can do on ElevenLabs nowadays. And it's shockingly good with a very, very small piece of audio, which is either going to make you excited or it's going to make you super scared, or maybe a little bit of both. So we'll see.
I did want to play the debate style because I thought this was interesting because with Notebook, you only they both kind of are talking podcasts, but they are either neutral or agree. But this is interesting in terms of you can have it debate.
Fee-based advisory services truly revolutionize how clients interact with their investments. They provide clarity and align the advisor's interests with those of the client.
Revolutionize? Yeah, right. More like complicate the straightforward process of investing. These fees are just another way to nickel and dime clients.
Nickel and dime, that's quite an exaggeration. Clients appreciate knowing exactly what they're paying for and receiving comprehensive services in return.
Comprehensive services that most people don't need. Can you believe this? It's overkill for the average investor who just wants solid returns without the extra fluff.
Extra fluff?
So I really like the ability for the two to go at it. It just adds, just give it a little bit more. You can create a lot more things with it than just
it is cool. It's a little, it does come across as a little unnatural because they repeat whatever the thing that they were gonna, and that's a very AI thing to do. You wouldn't talk to somebody if me and you were having a lively discussion. Every time you said, and that's the way it is, I wouldn't start my next sentence with, and that's the way it is. Right. Something like that. But, so, nitpicking, but it's still very cool.
Quick question. What was the source material for that? Was that just a document or was it a script?
That was a document. Document.
So part of the analysis is to bring out of the document?
Yeah. So this one was a, prospect. It was more of I took one of their public PDFs, It was called, I think, fee-based solutions, and then just uploaded that, and that was part of the demo. I do want to showcase the executive briefing. This one I just found this.
Ladies and gentlemen, this briefing provides an analysis of the Calgary housing market's performance in August 2020.
So that's a little, it's very, I guess, like, I don't know. I guess if you're an executive trying to showcase like a, town hall or something, that's probably something you'd use. I wouldn't use that on a regular basis, but it's just
to go with a slideshow. I could see that working.
Yeah, you could definitely do it.
Yeah, I could see. I mean, not like, doing the presentation of the slides that go along with it and hitting the high points for what was that, the Calgary, what was that, like the
housing, I think the housing market.
Yeah. So I could see that. I mean, I could see that being value added for companies to be able to create that pretty quickly.
So is this an example of how the output or the performance is going to be based on how creative or bland the source material is?
Yeah, so okay. I want to play the children's story of the St. Luke School Christmas prize raffle.
The magical raffle tickets. Once upon a time, in the charming town of Snowy Hollow, there lived a friendly boy named Karl Yeh. Karl was known throughout the town for his kind heart and cheerful smile. He lived with his parents in a quaint cottage at the edge of a great forest that sparkled with frost during the winter months. As the holiday season approached, Snowy Hollow buzzed with excitement. The townsfolk hung wreaths on their doors, lamp posts were adorned with ribbons, and snowmen began to appear in every yard. The scent of pine and cinnamon filled the air, and everyone was busy preparing for Christmas. One frosty morning, Karl and his best friend Mia walked to school together. Mia pointed to a colorful poster on the community bulletin board. The poster read, St. Luke School Christmas Prize Raffle. Join us in supporting our schools and win magical prizes. Look at that! Mia exclaimed. They're having a raffle with magical prizes. Karl's eyes lit up.
I don't know. I don't know what was that.
But that's what they did
to you, folks.
That's what they did for your voice when you were demoing it after the show yesterday too. So it's not and I find it hilarious that if you use a really hot mic, it will clone your voice as like speaking into a hot mic.
Yeah.
I think if we have Madge talking about AI, I definitely want to hear what Karl Yeh has to say about AI. And I want his catchphrase to be like, so that's that. Yay. That way we always know, like, oh, Karl Yeh with a hot take.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Okay, so just because I have done some research with Perplexity on Play's terms of conditions, Perplexity acknowledges that there's a significant gap in the terms of conditions that does not address who owns the IP for the cloned voices. You're responsible for what you have the clone voice do, and the IP of a product that we're using Play is addressed, but who owns the content that the voices make or the voices themselves is not addressed in the terms and conditions.
The interesting piece about this is there was a prospect meeting, and we played the NotebookLM version, and I think the one idea that came out, and it was really neat, where this company had multiple product launches. And what they needed to do is they have different teams spread out all over the place, I think across North America. And what they said was, well, instead of any of our CEO having to, or our product team or whoever, having to explain the product to the various teams before launch, they could just create the document, upload it, or create a podcast version of it and ship that out. And have the people listen to each team listen to what the product is in that format, because what they noticed is no one was paying attention to, like, people just didn't care whenever the product team was talking about the new product. They're like, this is boring, don't care. But if they had something like this, it would have added a little bit more. or you could actually create something more fun and, create a brand new transcript yourself and see how that goes too. So one thing that I know when I was comparing the voices, when you did one against NotebookLM, I still found the output of NotebookLM was, I don't know what it was, but it's more smooth. The conversation between the two was more fluid than the conversation in Play.ai. So I know I showed you the debate style, but let's hear the same piece of content in NotebookLM. Oh wait, I have to reshare the tab.
Oh, as you're sharing that, do you know off the top of your head what kind of pricing people are looking at? I'm assuming it's a credits based and that kind of thing.
Yes. No, it's per month, but you do
Oh.
have credits. It's per month.
Okay.
It's you have 30 minutes of speech credit on the free version. At $9 a month, you have 50 minutes of credit, then $49, 300 minutes, and then the $99, 700 credits. So it depends on your use case. What was neat about this is when I was using it for business, you obviously don't need it every single time. So you wouldn't pay. I highly recommend you, unless you are heavily using voice, just pay 1 month, right? So it's like, 50 credits. If you can get away with 0, that's awesome. But if you maybe pay $10 for this for one-time use for, I don't know, let's say a product launch every quarter, that's 30, every quarter, that's $10, it's $40 a year. That's, instead of hiring voice talent, or you put this into your workflow, that's $40 very well spent. Kind of how I justify any of this.
I mean, my go-to would be to just add the voice component to any article that you write.
Yes,
or any
100%.
blog post. It's like,
Yeah.
Here's the audio version.
Yes. Yeah. No, awesome. So here's the NotebookLM version.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive.
Definitely. Always up for a good deep dive.
Today, we're tackling BMO Nesbitt Burns.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're a pretty big player in the investment world, one of North America's leading firms, actually.
Okay.
We've got a whole bunch of their marketing materials here.
You do?
Yep, plus this in-depth document about their fee-for-advice solutions. I think by the end of this, we'll have a...
Anyway, so I don't know about you, but I found like it seems a little bit more smoother than Play.ai's.
Yeah, it definitely sounds more produced. So
Yes.
the performance, the audio quality, the back and forth, that kind of thing, that they obviously drew that from the millions of podcasts that they have access to and trained it off of that. You're right. Yeah, it's definitely a better produced podcast for sure.
But also it's singularly focused, right? They don't have all the options and abilities of Play.ai, and that might play to their strength because they just have the two voices and you're going to hear it that way. And it's well done. I'm curious if those two voices will stay like that, or everybody will be able to change everything, or that will be like a Siri voice in the future, where people recognize it, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking I would love a voice blend feature. If you could feed it 5 or 6 different voices, and it's like, I like different elements of this voice. I'd like to blend them together and see what I can get out of it.
Yeah. I think, I mentioned this on another show too about NotebookLM. And I'm not knocking them because you have to start somewhere, but look, we need to have more options for more diverse sounding voices. I definitely don't want to be in a future where AI has a very, Midwestern or nondescript American accent on both sides or something like that. And beyond that, there doesn't even appear to be anything more than maybe 2 Caucasian people talking or whatever the case may be. That's not the future any of us want, because it just limits, once again, other, populations hearing themselves and feeling like that's something they can build off of. So, I think that's coming. It's not like I think Google's ignoring that in any way. I don't get that impression, at least. It's just where they started. But I'm more excited to see stuff like Play and what they're doing, because we need diversification in, especially if we have things like using it for reading the annual report summaries and stuff like that. Nobody need another guy that sounds like a white American male, heterosexual male, whatever, like nobody needs that. Nobody's looking for that. Nobody needs that. So we need more diversity when it comes to the voices that we're hearing, because I think it can be really detrimental if it's super, super limited to just a few,
I that's why I gravitated toward Play HT before it became Play.ai, when the diversity of voices. Yes, ElevenLabs had like voices with different accents, but how natural it came out with Play.ai was sound. I was like, oh, okay, that sound. And then again, PlayNote has all access to that, so you can actually like pick 2 different accents, and it's
I love that.
And I think though it isn't going to be as smooth as a notebook, so that'll be interesting moving forward as it gets better. How that actually sounds, and then the fluidity between the two accents, which is kind of nice. But I did wanted to showcase though Google Illuminate, and they actually have several voices here. So I don't know.
The rabbit pulled out a what?
But again, they're not. There's no accents to them.
The rabbit pulled out a what?
So it's kind of exactly the same. I would imagine these voices will eventually make their way into Notebook.
Karl, what about languages? What kind of language support can people expect? Is it all English right now, or can there...
I think it's all English at the moment, but I'm curious to know what happens when you put this and actually put it in a different language. Because I would love to have a Irish speaker start pronouncing Hindi. Like, I would love to hear what that actually sounds like. And confuse myself. Right? And have 2 voice check.
Just like what Brian was talking about, this is a great opportunity to perpetuate languages. Of course, I'm talking about things like Hawaiian, which only have a few thousand native speakers anymore. But it would be a great platform or a great way to help educate and perpetuate various languages or dang languages and things like that, to keep that in the ether, so to speak. So I would really, I hope that they would add more and more language support, especially since they have like dubbing and lip sync, and like ElevenLabs has that, right? Where you can give you a source video and translate it into another language and make it look like your video is saying, like your mouth is speaking those words at that time. So that would be nice. But of course, I know we're just talking about purely audio at this point. But
so
all the pieces are there. Let's jam them together.
Okay, so why don't we have a little bit of time and have a little bit of fun with this? So I just went into ChatGPT, and so this is what I did. This is gonna be funny. Okay, so again, Canadian. I asked ChatGPT to give me using the template here with Play.ai, give me a 1-minute conversation about hockey between 2 people in Hindi. So I'm going to put this here. So I have no clue what that, but what I want to start picking though, let's pick.
Hey, how are you going?
Cho, how's it going?
Hey, hello. Thanks for clicking my voice.
Perfect.
Oh, I'm around.
And then let's pick.
Hey, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Hey, thank you for calling.
The dancing plague of 50.
The length of the X. Start by line.
Hello. How are you doing today? Care to have a quick chat?
Okay, let's go Irish accent. Is that Australian accent? I don't know what that is.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, hello, darling. I hope you're doing well today. So, did you want to chat with me?
No, I want.
Hey.
Hello. How?
No nonsense investigate.
Hey, how's it going? What are you up to today? I'd love to chat and catch up.
That sounds good. Let's do Nigel and Finley.
Yeah.
This is like the Costco of voices, right? Like there's a little too many options for me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna create this and let's see exactly what this sounds like and if this actually picks up.
And while you're doing that too, I have a quick question for you, Carl, because as I'm looking at our like Beth, which you put together, you mentioned something called GenFM. Is that different than these other two?
Yes. So GenFM is 11 Notes version, 11 Labs version of this.
Gotcha.
But it's only on you can only do it on your mobile device. So I was trying to think of ways how I can showcase my mobile device to screen share into our talk here. Jimmy, if you know, do I quick time that?
If you get the dev kit for iOS, you can you can plug in your iPhone onto your MacBook and then you can share that.
But you can perhaps come as a guest on your phone.
Oh, that is true. I could come on. Oh, that is a good point. Well, let's hear about this exciting hockey match.
Let's not break it before we finish what we're doing.
Taya tumne ka hon ki ka maik deka kamau ka kelta yaya
Han habelko vogol yo akirimen kan kia gaya oto padopanda. Puri bihid pagalho geist as.
Aranhian tukaya.
We need to explore this.
Look, we can't keep turning.
Because I think there's a lot
first of all, is anybody in chat speak Hindi?
That's what I was about to say. I mean,
if there is anybody, please speak up because I would love to know if any of that is accurate.
Can you even comprehend the pronunciation of it's hard because no, that doesn't sound what I would traditionally think somebody speaking Hindi sounds like, but also is it even intelligible, to somebody who does, they may be like, that's horrible, but I understand what they're saying. That's
I'm so unfamiliar with the language that I don't even know if it translated. I don't. Right. Yeah, I'm not familiar enough, so that's why I would love someone who speaks Hindi to
and
say
by the way, that's a good reminder to anybody playing with this stuff that you better have a hard trust but verify type position on this stuff, because if it is translating, and look, we're talking about maybe 2 more levels of double checking. It's not going to take you much to throw it through a Claude or a Gemini or a ChatGPT, it doesn't matter, and check the translations and just make sure that you get 2 or 3 different LLMs saying the same thing, that one of them of the 3 isn't way out there. Could all 3 of them still be wrong? Yes, but at least you've taken 3 different attempts at evaluating and making sure that you're putting the human in the loop. So it's a good reminder that careful, this stuff is cool, but also careful. You might unintentionally offend somebody when all you were trying to do is make it more available to a larger audience, but you could totally have the unintended consequences of somebody feels offended. The pronunciation makes it sound more like they're being made fun of as opposed to just a different accent on it or something. So you got to be careful. Well, it's very cool, but you got to be careful with what you're doing when you put this out there, especially if it's going to go public or it's going to be forward facing, that you don't unintentionally, offend somebody that doesn't like the way it sounds,
We may not be able to understand the actual language, but when I hear people speaking Hindi, it is a faster pace and there does not seem to be the gap between the words. Like this sounded very much like the first speaker was saying one word and then another word, right?
We put an Australian accent and have that Australian accent speak Hindi, which is I think that's difficult. That's a really interesting. I think we're stressing the program because you're actually trying to get an accent, a language, and trying to mash them together. I want to play this because I created another one using Italian.
Hai visto la partita di hockey ieri? Esta incredibile?
Sì, certo che il gol ultimo minuto è stato da pazzi. Il pubblico è impazzito.
Davvero? Anche il portiere ha fatto delle...
So I think you could probably do a lot of different options with this in different languages. So to answer your question, Jumi, I think so. Like probably do quite a bit. I'm curious. I haven't uploaded anything in a different language, so maybe it's the same thing, right? If you upload in a different language, will it create?
Well, how did you get the Italian?
Oh, I went to ChatGPT.
Oh,
Said, "Hey,
okay. You put in a transcript as opposed
I
to
put
from
in
the
a
document.
transcript."
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So I guess you have to test that out to figure that out and see.
I would think pretty quickly we'll start. I mean, we already have the translators directly on websites. You could just do Google Translate it and it'll convert it. But I think we'll pretty quickly hear that go to voice as well, where it'll translate it and you'll also be able to listen to the website and things like that. So it seems like an obvious step. And also, this is good reminder as we're sort of picking and poking at this and forcing it into corners and things like that. This is the worst it'll be, and you always hear that a lot, but it's true here too. And all this stuff is going to get just better. I mean, again, take the 30 minutes of recording to train your voice to 30 seconds. And that happened in almost under a year. So, voice mode. I mean, we just got voice mode with vision, but just the advanced voice mode in general. When you think about, I spent 14 minutes earlier today just doing the vision thing and walking around the house and showing different pieces of artwork to vision, and having a conversation, how smooth and how fluid that conversation is. But you figure that conversation is probably first produced as text and then it's read. It's almost near with no latency, but as far as what the model is doing, that probably first appears, I don't know, but it seems like it probably first appears as text and then is converted fairly quickly into voice. So we already know this type of technology exists. We've had very smooth conversations. So I think pretty quickly we're going to see it go into these tools as well, where you're able to create these podcasts and it's very, it's got that Google LM feel to it,
So that begs the question, are we what is happening when we talk about a multimodal model? Is it that the system is faster at converting it to text and then converting it back to a voice interface? Because they've been talking about multimodal models for a while. It's maybe a little like talking about agents. How do you define yours, right? Because it may just be that everything got sped up, but I thought there was going to be something different about models that were trained with video inputs and audio inputs.
Maybe.
Oh, like what the source level is? Does everything have to be converted to text? Does that
right?
And then
right?
Maybe not.
Going video to video is instead of text.
I was reading the Google real time, and then I was reading the we saw the real time API from OpenAI. It doesn't do it like that. It doesn't take text, transcribe it, send it. It doesn't do that. It does it all in one piece. And I think that's what Google is the same thing, because especially when it's describing a moving video, it actually does it quite well. So I'm pretty, I think that, and I'm curious to see now, like, could you give it a video? You can, and then you can have a conversation through it. We're seeing like images and whatnot in real time, but just
Well, this all leads to what I think is going to happen. And we've mentioned it again. We talked about this, I think, probably on the Google, I would assume on the NotebookLM episodes, and Beth put those in the comments as what episodes they were. But, we talked about this being a live interactive type scenario in your car. I think in the same way you have CarPlay or Android Play or whatever it's called, audio, you will not only be listening, but you actually be interacting. So again, Jimmy, you said it, like all the pieces and parts are there. That's the fun part of AI. Like there's a lot of stuff we can't see over the next hill, but there's plenty that we can, because what you're doing is you're saying, well, I'm going to take a little of this technology and add it to a little bit of that technology, especially when we get to the multimodal, it expands everything. And then you have Google saying we've reached the multiverse, and then that really expands things. And so before long we're going to be talking about multidimensional stuff or whatever. But I think that's what I see when I look at this stuff, or I look at not to get off topic with today, but when I look at what they released with Vision with advanced voice mode and what that opens up, I really do see a lot more opportunities on everyday devices like your CarPlay, or just being in the car or having your headphones in or whatever. And you're listening to a podcast, but you're also interacting with it.
Right.
Or
Right.
you're part of the story, you know?
Because like I it's less interesting to me, and I'm so excited about Vision, but it's less interesting to me to have Siri aware of what's on my screen, and more interesting to me to have Siri aware of what we're listening to, so that I can say pause, have a conversation. And I don't think Siri is going to rise to that level right now. So whoever's putting out the podcast player that's going to have this, please let us know. I am happy to be a first test case, so that then I can say, all right, so let's talk about this. Post a message on Slack, because that's an excellent show idea. And then we want our own automations that becomes a show for all of you. Like
beyond that
would
I
be
just want
exciting.
a personal podcaster. So like the podcast comes in and I say, oh, hey, AI, what did you mean by that? Well, Jyunmi, what I meant by that, and just put yourself in the podcast. I like that idea of just like put yourself in the podcast. I think
it's
great.
totally, look, I think it's totally going to happen. I think because of what we're seeing with voice, because of not in a car with Vision, I don't know if that makes sense, but definitely active listening to it. If you choose, obviously you always should have the data right, privacy.
Right. The audio version of the video of Vision, right?
But I think very, very soon, I mean, I don't know, in the next 12 to 24 months, we will probably have some sort of like hokey put it together type situation, and it'll be more refined. But I think people will be like, hey, check this out kind of thing. I'm in my car, I'm listening to this. Technically, it's this curated podcast, but at any point I can interact. It asks me questions. I respond back to it. And it's more of this interactive experience that would be uniquely different between the four of us if we all started a road trip at the same time and all listened to the same podcast at the same time. If we met up for dinner on the road, we would have four unique experiences to talk about. Be like, oh, well, overarching, it was about this topic. But when they said this, I got curious. That made me think of this thing. And so I went down this path for a little bit. And then we talked about this. And then we would all come back to the table and have four interesting different perspectives on the same podcast. And I just think this is totally coming. I can't imagine it wouldn't. It just seems like all the parts and pieces kind of exist today. And somebody smart is going to put this all together and go, yeah, A plus B equals C, and this is possible. I really, really think that's going to make car rides a lot more fun. I think that'll make, being on the train and long commutes a lot more fun, and just more interactive. I mean, yesterday I said to Jyunmi that about doing the voice and the vision, or advanced voice mode with Vision, and doing choose your own adventures out in the yard and stuff like that, or going a walk around your neighborhood and being like, should I go left or right? So like, I can't wait for the creativity that's going to come out of this, because I think it's going to be super, super cool.
I want to do a quick breaking news.
Yeah, do it. And then we'll wrap up after that. I think.
Yeah.
Is this the news that Jesse mentioned in chat about NotebookLM?
Yes. So Stephen Johnson, who is the who's this guy? He is the editorial director, NotebookLM and Google Labs, something. Anyway, there is a new feature where you can collaborate or ask follow-up questions via text while listening to an audio overview. So
there you go.
I don't think I have it though, because I just tried to create one. I don't think it had that rolled out yet. But I think this is kind of neat, where you can join audio overviews with your voice and engage the AI hosts to ask a question or steer the conversation.
Okay, go down two paragraphs there. New NotebookLM Plus version.
Oh, you have to pay for it. Come on now. We have to monetize this. They're going to monetize that stuff.
Yeah. NotebookLM Plus. And if you see plus, that might as well mean dollar signs. But there you go.
I
right?
think this is neat.
That's the idea.
So basically, we mentioned the idea on the show.
Yep.
And they are able to respond within moments to our needs.
Fantastic.
I mean,
shouldn't we get some royalties out of this?
mean,
you would think by now.
Look, OpenAI is already watching the show. They got the satellite idea from Brian.
Data centers in space. That
data
was us.
centers in space. Now Google's on the bandwagon. I mean, if you're looking for the latest and best ideas in the AI field, you should just watch the Daily AI Show. And don't forget to go to dailyaishow.com to sign up for the newsletter, which comes out every Sunday.
And we're free. We're free.
Hey,
We don't have a plus.
you haven't
There is
talked
no
about our
Daily AI Show plus
Patreon.
account.
We haven't talked about it. We haven't promoted our Patreon.
Yeah.
Don't worry. It's going to be DAS Plus.
I mean, at some point we will ask you for money, but not today. Today's free. No, this show will, just to be clear, I'm joking. This show will always be free. It will always be free. I don't think we may do other things and grow, but always come back and listen to the Daily AI Show. Our intent is always to have interesting conversations and bring those to everybody else and get all these amazing conversations in the comments. Because when we started, we didn't even have comments. We didn't have anybody talking about anything. It was just us talking to the screen at each other. And now I look in the comments and I don't know how many there are here. 40 plus, 50 plus comments just in our little conversation today. Yeah. And that's what it's all about, because we're now all talking. It's not just the 4 to 7 of us. Now it's all of us plus all of you. And we're having these amazing conversations, and you're adapting and changing what we're talking about. Sometimes there's totally different conversations going on in the comments that have nothing to do with our show, but it's awesome. And that's what we want to bring to this, is just good, interesting conversations about AI. We love this stuff. Y'all love this stuff. That's why you're here. So make sure you keep coming back every single day. Today's Friday. So we're done for the week, other than at 1 p.m. today, we will do day 7 of 12 days of OpenAI. I will not be there, but whoever is available from this group, Jyunmi will be there. Who else? Beth, Carl, you're going to be there for the open. Yep. Okay. So everybody but me. So Jyunmi, Beth, and Carl will all be there to do whatever the live reactions are to today's announcement. We've gotten some good ones so far. So still fingers crossed for a DALL-E 4. But we'll see what happens. Maybe not today on that one. They had a pretty big announcement yesterday. So we'll see what happens if it's another quote unquote stocking stuffer. Hey, don't forget about the newsletters we mentioned at the top of the show. You can go to dailyaishow.com to do that. We'll be live, like I said, at 1 p.m. today for the 12 days open AI, and then come back all next week and the week after and the week after, because we don't take days off. We have so far been able to run shows with at least 2 people. Sometimes that has been scary. We almost didn't make it, but we've done a show every Monday through Friday since we started, which was well over almost like a year and a half ago. We've done over 350 episodes. So we will be here right through the holidays. Make sure you come back and hang out with us and have a good time. That's it for today. Have a wonderful, scary, spooky Friday the 13th in the middle of December. It's 80 degrees here in Tampa, so life is good. And I hope you all have a great weekend. Bye.
Aloha.